Hey everybody, Kenny with UglyTent. Welcome to another edition of Basic Wilderness Survival. Today's episode will be about first aid. So recently I just finished my wilderness first aid certification, and it was by far one of the best classes I'd ever taken, and probably had to do with the instructor. The instructor was incredible. He's the real deal. Really enjoyed the class, and I've had many classes over the years between search and rescue and my private schooling that I've taken, private courses, survival courses, and tracking and all that. And I've had some great instructors, but this class for me, wilderness first aid, and it was just everything I'd wanted in all the classes put together. But today we're not going to give you a wilderness first aid certification, obviously. I'm going to talk about what kind of first aid you need to be looking at if you're in the woods solo, by yourself, or if you're with a small group and you're camping, hiking, whatever it might be. So let's unpack this. Cracks me up all the buzzwords throughout the years. One of them is, or a catchphrase I guess, is let's unpack this. You hear everybody say, well, let's unpack this. And they're talking about, not a backpack obviously, they're talking about some kind of corporate jargon or mumbo jumbo, or they're trying to sell you something. Alright, first of all, let's talk about, this is my trauma kit. Let's talk about trauma kits, which I've discussed before in previous videos, but for the basic wilderness survival purpose, we're going to talk about this again. So this is more for a small group, or for yourself if you're doing an extended trip. So I'm not a medical professional. I am your average guy, and that's what this is for, your average person, wilderness survival. So there are people who, I have a lot of friends that are EMTs, paramedics, firefighters. Obviously they're more equipped for this than I am, but I wanted to go over this with you because you need to know the basics. I brought some stuff for breakfast too. I'm gonna do that later. So now that we've got everything out, let's take a look at what I recommend based on my experience and my level of training. This goes back to the old adage, you're not going to rise to the occasion, you're going to fall to your level of training. So years and years ago when I first started backpacking, I carried a big comprehensive kit with me, which is fine, but it's just a lot of unnecessary stuff that weighed a lot. I had surgical staples in there. I'm never going to use surgical staples. I don't know how to use them. Why would I carry them? There's just stuff that people carry. They carry a suture kit. Have you ever done stitches? If you ever put stitches in somebody, then you're probably not going to do it in the field. And I wouldn't recommend it. So if you're doing solo overnighters, or if you're a hunter and you're out in the woods a lot, a tourniquet. This could save your life. Get a good one. Don't buy the cheap one. This is a cat tourniquet. These are getting hard to find right now because they're all going to the Ukraine. Now you may never use this. This is one of those things that you may never use, but if you're by yourself and you need this, it will save your life. So take a Stop the Bleed class. It talks about pressure dressings and tourniquets. It's a basic class for it's a good class for the common person, for the average person. And you can get some really cool tourniquet pouches or Kydaks or holsters. How we like to add stuff to our packs and our belts. This is one of them I recommend, is a little pouch like this. So that lives with me. Whether I'm with a group or by myself, I always carry a tourniquet, or always have one with me. Next on the list of highly recommended items to carry is an emergency blanket. Now you can carry the Mylar blanket, the real thin one. I like this one. I've talked about this before. Hypothermia is something that is a killer in the woods. So if you've lost blood, you have an injury or shock, or someone you're with has sustained an injury or cut themselves or whatever, the emergency blanket could save their life. A lot of people will die of hypothermia in the woods, not because it's cold, because of loss of blood or because of their body's in shock. So a lot of your wilderness medical experts call for the emergency blanket, call for keeping the patient warm, because hypothermia is a real threat in the woods. Of course, where would I be without the booboo kit? Now let me show you. This is just an example of a prepackaged little booboo kit that you can buy. You know, it just has your band-aids, your ointments. This is the thing you're going to use the most. You know, this has got your anti-itch cream, that kind of stuff. This is what you're going to really want to focus on. If you're carrying this and a tourniquet, an emergency blanket, in my opinion, you know, that's pretty much for day hiking, for solo outdoor adventures. That's what you need. Anything else, you're going to call for help. I mean, and there are times where you don't have cell phone service, but think about it. How often is that anymore? You know, there's always, unless I'm really deep in the woods, there's always cell phone service. And even today, a lot of your cell phones, you can use the GPS locator, or get on your phone. You can go the SOS mode, and you can actually contact help through GPS. There's a lot of neat stuff coming out now with cell phones and GPS. So this is my booboo. This is the booboo kit you can buy. This is mine over the years. It's evolved. So my little pill canister here, and you know, keep ibuprofens, you know, your daily medications, whatever, in this little container here. Then I have a little packet of moleskin. You know, you can use duct tape, but moleskin's so much more comfortable. And band-aids. Then you go into your ointments. You know, I've got hydrocortisone, alcohol wipes, a couple of triple antibiotics, and then butterfly closures, more moleskin. If you're not familiar with moleskin, you should be. I mean, if you're a hiker or camper, moleskin's super important. Butterfly closures, and oh, tweezers. Got a little tiny pair of tweezers in here for ticks and stuff. So that's the basics, and that's really all you need in a booboo kit. You can add whatever you want. This is not the end-all approach to wilderness medicine, or wilderness first aid, I should say. This isn't even medicine. But it all lives in here, and this is just a cheapy little zipper pouch that I acquired years ago. I put duct tape around it just to make it blend in with the rest of my kit, and also more durable. And this, literally, this is, oh man, I started carrying this 30 years ago. It's been a long time. Before I get into the trauma kit, let's talk about the hydration multipliers. So something like liquid IV, banana bag, these things are fantastic for making your water go farther. So this will help rehydrate you. And this is very, very important. Even in the wintertime, a lot of people get dehydrated because you don't pay attention to it in the winter like you do in the summer. You know, in the hotter months of the year, you get thirsty. But in the wintertime, you may not get as thirsty, but you still need the water, you need hydration. So a hydration multiplier is always good to add to your pack. Okay, lastly, now that we've discussed the smaller items, let's talk about the trauma kit. This is a more extensive kit. This is the one I carry when I'm group camping. This is the one I carry when I'm at work. This lives in my vehicle in case there's an injury at work. I've got the basics covered until help can arrive. Tourniquet, shears, there's a SAM splint, gloves, rescue blanket, you know, emergency blanket. And one of the things I highly recommend is the Elias bandage. And this thing is for wound packing, pressure dressing. This has a lot of benefits to it. And I'll break this down in a separate video because this really deserves its own video. The Elias bandage is pretty awesome. Elias bandage. And then this has a CPR mouthpiece, mouth shield, breathing shield, and then duct tape. So this has all your basics in it, and I know this will cover enough to save someone's life. And this is the level I'm trained to. I'm familiar with the tourniquets, the SAM splint, the blanket, the Elias bandage, the wound packing, pressure dressing, CPR. You know, this is the level that I'm comfortable with. So I'm not going to go into how to make a splint or how to make a sling. This is not a wilderness first aid class or course. You know, if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the outdoors, you're new to bushcraft survival, these are the basics you want to start with. But continue the education. Continue your learning. Take classes, take courses, take Stop the Bleed, take CPR. If you can get a wilderness first aid, take it. That's what you need to be learning. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Like I said, always be learning. We'll be taking those classes. Get out there, do it. If you're going to the woods, stay safe. And hopefully nothing will happen and you can enjoy the wilderness like I do. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We'll see you on the next video.